Hey guys, what's up? Today I'll finally be ranking every single PS Vita JRPG released in North America. Well, as long as it has an English release out there outside of Japan, it's here. And therefore we have 80 plus games to cover, 87 plus a lot of Kemco RPGs, but we'll get to that later. Okay, we're gonna start with a game that I recently played. Because I had never played before any of the Sword Art Online games on the PlayStation Vita, and this is Axel World versus Sword Art Online. This is a crossover between the Axel World games. It's also an anime and a manga and whatever, the same as Sword Art Online, except none of the Axel World games, I think they were released on the PSV, none of those games made it to North America. Instead, we only got the Sword Art Online games, so when this crossover happened and was released, we were all like, what's this? You know, a crossover between this anime and this other anime we know nothing about? But anyway, because they're both games about characters trapped in MMORPGs, you know, I figured, you know, they were like, okay, let's make a crossover. So these are action RPGs, full-fledged hack and slash. You can play as any character you want from the Sword Art Online universe or the Axel World universe. And they usually take place in these large open world areas where you can just traverse anywhere, you know, and go anywhere you want and beat the crap out of enemies until you reach a dungeon, complete the dungeon, exit, go back to town, and so on. Do you need to play the other games to understand this one? I think you may have to familiarize yourself with Axel World and maybe watch a couple of episodes of the Sword Art Online anime or play the other games. I don't know, you need to do something, because if you play this game completely blind, you're not gonna understand anything or who these characters are or how they met each other, etc. One thing I gotta admit, guys, is that, oh boy, I played both the PS Vita and the PS4 version of this game, and the PS4 version is far superior. And this also goes for any other Sword Art Online games on the Vita. I love the Vita, don't take me wrong, you guys know that, but as much as I love the Vita, these games do not play very well on the Vita. They suffer from low frame rate, not so good controls, not so good resolution. So yeah, still I think Axel World versus Sword Art Online is a decent game, but unfortunately, you know, I think if I was ranking the PS4 version, I would put this game on the B, because it's actually a great game, but because this is the Vita version, it just goes to the C. It's an okay game, it's okay on the Vita. I suggest you play this game on the PS4. Moving on to Adventures of Mana, this is digital only, no physical release. Adventures of Mana is the second remake of the very first Adventures of Mana game, known as Seiken Densetsu, the one that was originally released on the Game Boy. Its second remake was on the Game Boy Advance, I think it's called Sword of Mana. I've never played that game actually, but I did play this Vita remake and it looks beautiful, it looks pretty, but it's okay, it's the same game, it's the same charming game. You really need to be a fan of the Mana series to really enjoy this game. To me, it's a hidden gem. A lot of people don't know this remake is on the Vita, probably because it's digital only. And to be honest, I've never been a fan of the original, and this remake this is an okay game, so since it's okay, it's also gonna be on the C. Moving on to Akiba Strip, that famous game, that Akiba Strip, that's clever. It's about, you know, a beat 'em up about these characters, you know, beating the crap out of other characters, you know, on the streets of Akihabara, and to defeat them you need to undress them, you know, it's kind of silly, it's kind of fun, but the controls are intuitive. It's a very original battle system and a very original concept. It's just dumb, but it's dumb in a good sense. It's fun, it's okay, the Vita version plays well. I actually played both the Vita version, the PS3 version, never played the PS4 version, which I imagine is better. But yeah, it's okay, but it's above average, so I think it's better than Adventures of Mana and the Axel World, so I'm gonna give this game a B. And well, there's Akiba's Beat. Akiba's Beat, it has nothing to do with Akiba Strip, it's another game in the Akiba universe because it takes place also in Akihabara. This is different, the battle system is like the Tales series, like hack and slash Tales game. It combines a lot of rhythm with the battle system. It's kind of weird, but it's not that really hard to understand. A lot of people trash this game because it really feels like it drags on and on and on. The visual novel elements of this game are strong. You'll be reading a lot of nonsense, that's true. But I think this is an okay game, you know, just people trashed it way harder than what it probably deserved. I think it's an okay game. I do recommend it, but only if you're really into the idol J-pop culture, because it's overly present in this game. So to me, I'm not that really into that, but it's still a good game, so I'm gonna give it a C. It's also on the PS4. Now moving on to Art No Surge, originally released on the PlayStation 3, this is the prequel to the Art Tonelico games on the PS2 and 3. This Vita version is the holy grail of JRPGs on the Vita. It's extremely rare and expensive. The most expensive JRPG on the system because it has all the DLCs and it only came with a limited release. A great game. This is a game that I covered multiple times in my channel. It's very complicated and hard to explain because there's a lot of gameplay mechanics and the battle system is quite unique. I strongly suggest you watch those videos because it's going to take me forever to explain this game. All I can say is that this is a great game, a phenomenal game. I'm actually tempted to give it an A because it's, from all the Art Tonelico games, this is the one that I like the most. It grows on you, it's a little bit slow at the beginning, but it grows on you. It's still I'm gonna give this game a B. Well, let's just say it's a B+. Let's leave it at that. Next are the Atelier games. There are 8 Atelier games, not 9. We'll get to that in a bit. Only 8. There's the first trilogy is digital only in North America. I think these games got a physical release in Japan, not North America. The first trilogy originally released on the PlayStation 3. These are the updated versions, with all the DLCs and all that jazz, but they are the exact same games. The Arlen trilogy, which is the first one, I think it's a great adventure. I think it's great, it's compelling, it's fun. Rorona is my favorite out of the 3, it's very charming. So the entire Arlen trilogy is a B. Yeah, they're great games, all 3 of them, Rorona, Toturi, and Meruru, digital only. Now the second trilogy, there's Aisha, Eska and Logi, and Shalit. This is called the Dusk Trilogy. Also the same updated versions with all DLCs, the definitive versions to play of these games, etc. And they look great on the Vita, by the way. I think Aisha, the first game, did not have a physical release as well, but the second and third game, Eska and Logi and Shalit, did get a physical release on the Vita. Obviously they're crazy expensive nowadays, but just for your information, they did get a physical release. I have never seen Aisha physical, but you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. This is a better trilogy. I think Aisha is also a B, so I'm gonna give this game a B, but Eska and Logi and Shally are almost A-tier RPGs because they feel more full-fledged and just better, overall better games than all the previous games on the Atelier series. That's right, so these 2 games go to the A-tier for me. And the third trilogy, which is called the Mysterious Trilogy, starts off with Atelier Sophie, and then Firis, and then Lydie and Suelle. However, Lydie and Suelle was not released on the Vita in North America. It was only released in Japan on the Vita, so we only got the first 2 games. Sophie plays pretty well on the Vita, actually. Firis does not play well on the Vita. Do not play the Vita version of Firis. Low frame rate, lots of glitches. Yeah, just skip the Firis version on the Vita. So Sophie is fine, so Sophie is a B. I think it's also better on the PS4, but the Vita version is great too. Firis is on the C because of the technical issues of the game. Moving on to Asterisk War Phoenix Festa. This is a game that's like a / visual novel / action RPG. It plays a little bit of like a 3D fighting game more than anything because you play by yourself and you can sometimes, most of the time you have a partner, a party member fighting by your side. This is a pretty fun and addictive game, actually, believe it or not. It's dumb, the story's dumb, it's a harem playing in high school about a tournament, whatever, it's your usual harem, it's kind of funny sometimes. And I don't know, it's in terms of story, it doesn't stand out, but the gameplay mechanics are addictive because you can also train your character per session, and the training takes like seconds, and then it's up to fighting again. It can get pretty repetitive, halfway through the game, but it's pretty fun. I think this is a great game, actually. It gets a lot of shit, a lot of undeserved shit in my opinion, but I think it's great. I'm gonna give this game a B. Yeah. Moving on to Cladoon Returns. The Cladoon games are originally on the PC and PSP. It's one of those games that are like, 8-bit, 16-bit inspired types of games. They love those graphics, and this is a roguelike RPG, but not the one where you move and the enemy moves. No, it's just about there's a randomly generated dungeons every time you go into the dungeon, it's different. It's an action RPG, top-down view with 8-bit graphics. It looks okay, it's okay. To be honest, this game was like, it's alright, so I'm gonna give this game a C. Next up is Conception 2, Children of the Seven Stars, the sequel to a game we never got until the PS4 digital release. Now, Conception 2, it's also on the 3DS. And to be honest, it's also one of those games that gets a lot of crap from people. They hate this game, and it's one of my guilty pleasures. I'm also gonna give this game a B, because it's honestly better than what most people say it is. They trash this game. I don't think so. I think it's great, and I recommend it. Criminal Girls 1 and 2, man. Oh man. These games are actually great concepts, and they also have great battle systems in turns. You know, you got a girl here, another one here, another one here, another one here, and the enemy in the middle, and you can only attack with one or two girls, you know, to decide which girl is going to attack or do next. So the battle system is very intuitive, very original. I love it. The concept was great, you know, of being, you know, this guy, you know, who gets sent to jail, you know, to be like a guard there, and well, you need to escape the prison because it's all gone to hell, and you need to take all these female prisoners with you. The problem with these games is that they have these kinky mini games, but they involve several party members, several female characters, which are like little girls, little kids. I don't recommend these games because if you're sensitive about, you know, the little girls being sexualized, you know, because they are, skip these games. But overall, because of the battle system and the ideas, you know, of escaping from the prison with the girls, you know, they're kind of okay. So both of them, I'm gonna give them a C. Yeah, I'll cut both of them some slack because they have cool ideas. It's just the little girl sexualization completely ruins them for me. Demon Gaze 1 and 2 are dungeon crawlers in first person. The second one is a direct sequel to the other one, but I don't think you need to play the first one to understand this one because they have completely different stories and characters. And they're great, you know, they do stand out above your average or mediocre dungeon crawlers because there's a lot of features taking place at the place you stay in. You know, the inn, you know, they charge you for every party member you acquire. You gotta pay rent, which is funny, especially in the first game. And they do hold your hand at the beginning. They're not hard, you know, a lot of dungeon crawlers on the Vita in first person, they are brutally hard from the start. And this one, you know, they let you play at your own pace, you know, little by little, and they do start getting very challenging, and halfway through the game they're very grinding and just straight out impossible. So these two games I do recommend it. If you like dungeon crawlers in first person, you gotta play these games, man. I'm not the biggest fan of dungeon crawlers in first person. Hidden gems, both of them, totally recommended, but to me they're also C tier RPGs. To me, don't forget that. I do recommend them though. I remember a lot of you recommending me the Cyber's Loot games, the Digimon Story Cyber's Loot games on the PS3 and the PS Vita. I think they're also on the PS4. But the truth is that when I first played them, I was like, oh, wait, they were right. You know, these are great games. But eventually, you know, they just revolve around the same usual Pokemon formula. Capture monsters, train them, and participate in whatever. But these ones stand out above the other Digimon games because they focus a lot on the story and on the characters and on the monsters themselves than on the monster training formula. So these two games, I'm also gonna rank them on the C, but that's because I'm not into Digimon. If you are, these two are a must play. Alright, both of them on the C tier. Alright, moving on to the Disgaea games, Disgaea 3 and Disgaea 4. Great games, no need to mention them. These two, all you need to know is they are enhanced ports of the original PS3 versions. These are the better versions to play compared to the PS3 counterparts. Disgaea 3 is not that great, it's one of the worst in the series, but it's still a decent game, I'm gonna give it a C. And Disgaea 4, it's an excellent game, I'm gonna give this one an A. Oh yeah. Dragon Quest Builders, I couldn't get into it. Yes, like its title implies, it's all about building locations, building places and taking care of them. It's also an action RPG. Die-hard Dragon Quest fans may love it, but I didn't. To me, it's an okay game. It's also on the C, but it's just my opinion. I just couldn't get into it. Dragon's Crown by Vanillaware is also an excellent game, 2D action RPG, straight to the A. I've covered this game multiple times. I'm a die-hard Vanillaware fan, you guys know that already. Dungeon Travelers 2. I don't know anything about the first one, don't ask. Where's the first one? I have no idea. I think it's on the PSP exclusive to Japan. This one miraculously made it despite its controversies because just like Criminal Girls, it also has a lot of sexualization with little girls and that turned me off. Plus, it's a dungeon crawler in first person. So to me, I'm sorry, this game is trash. It's not that bad, but it's I'm sorry guys, this is trash. I'm gonna give it an E. Yeah. Dynasty Warriors God Seekers is a strategy RPG, a grid-based strategy RPG and a great one. Later in the game it does get repetitive, but it starts off really good, really interesting, the graphics look great, even on the Vita it looks badass. And it has this original touch because you control these characters and their armies, where your main commander is, you know, the star of the show, and their abilities are great. This is a great game actually, but anyway, this is a game that I strongly recommend to both Dynasty Warriors fans and strategy RPGs fans. It's a must play. This is a B. Alright, moving on to Exist Archive, developed by Tri-Ace, developers of Star Ocean and Valkyrie Profile. It does have some Valkyrie Profile-like gameplay mechanics, but it has nothing to do with them. This is one of the most heavily recommended hidden gems in this channel. I recommended this game to death. It's one of the usual suspects when it comes to hidden gems. It's an excellent game, so I'm gonna give it an A. Oh yeah. No S tier so far, we'll get there, don't worry. Fantasy Hero is a very obscure RPG, action RPG, kind of top-down view by Arc System Works. Digital only, no physical release, and to be honest, it's okay. You can choose between 4 different characters. It's quest-driven, you just complete quests from the small town you live in. To be honest, it's just very mediocre. It's okay. I think it might be a hidden gem, but at the same time, not really. Controls are kind of clunky. Story is kind of meh. This is a D. Yeah. The Final Fantasy X and X-2 remasters, they did get a physical release on the Vita, and Final Fantasy X is a great game, we all know that. Final Fantasy X-2, I hate it, so it's gotta be on the B, right? Yeah, because Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X-2, you get the idea. Freedom Wars is another exclusive on the PlayStation Vita, and it was a great idea as an action RPG, kind of in the Monster Hunter God Eater vein. And it's great, the story offline mode is phenomenal. I totally recommend playing this game even if you can't play it online anymore. This is a B, solid B. Probably B plus actually, but not an A. And speaking about God Eater, here are God Eater 1 and 2. The third one didn't make it to the Vita. So the first one is a full remake of the first game originally released on the PSP. It's known there as God Eater Burst. And I recommended this game before, I loved it, great game. And the second game is one that I recently picked up on the PS4 and I started playing it and I'm loving it. The thing about the God Eater games is that they're kind of slow at the beginning. You go, you start, you customize your character, they throw you in this post-apocalyptic scenario, so they hook you in with the story and the characters are likable. But once you get to the battle system, you know, to the areas, to the missions, you go kill 2 monsters and that's it. So you're like, what? That's it? And it happened several times during the tutorial and during the first several missions of the game. And then the first several missions of the game are like that. So for like 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, you're like, man, when are these games gonna get better? They do get better. Eventually, from the 3-4 hour mark onward, you know, you just get sent to missions fighting bosses over and over and over again, because these games are pretty much Monster Hunter inspired games and they're very good at them. Sure, they do get kind of repetitive, but it's something that you really need to like, the battle systems and the boss rush features of the games, to properly appreciate them. If you're not into that, you're not gonna like these games, but I strongly recommend them both. Both of them play exactly the same, they are done with the exact same graphic engine and they have like identical controls. Different story, the second one is a direct sequel to the first one, so you kind of do need to play the first one to understand the second one. Unfortunately, the first game did not have a physical release, it was digital only, but I think by purchasing a brand new copy of God Eater 2 on the Vita or PS4, you get a download code so you can buy it. And if you can't, the first one is quite often on sale on the PlayStation 4. So, and they play great on the Vita. Don't worry, they look great on the Vita and play great over there. These two games are, I'm biased because I really like them, so I strongly recommend them, but to me they're A tiers. Oh boy, that's right, both of them, on the A tier. God Wars Future Past, this is the original release on the Vita, also on PS4, later port to the Switch. This is a great game, strategy RPG, one of the very few strategy RPGs of this generation of the PlayStation Vita. I've recommended this game to death, one of the usual suspects, hidden gems. Yeah, you know this game very well, I've covered it to death in this channel. This is a great game, I'm gonna give it a B. Grand Kingdom is not a game for everybody because it's a campaign-driven RPG. You start these long-ass campaigns and it's a mix of a strategy RPG with a turn-based RPG. So you select a bunch of generic customizable characters and you send them on a quest fighting in the middle of a war. So you move your characters around in these board-like maps until you make contact with a chest or you make contact with an enemy. When you make contact with an enemy, the battle starts and it's a 2D, 2.5D battle view. And positioning your 4 playable characters, you know, it's kind of the key to understand this game. You gotta position your melee attackers at the front and the others on the back so you can attack from afar, and it's very strategic, you know. Some people say it's a regular turn-based RPG. It's not, it's a strategy RPG. It's pretty much a strategy RPG and it's kind of hard to understand and get into, but once you do, oh boy, this is a phenomenal game. It's a great game, excellent, plays very well on the Vita and on the PlayStation 4 as well. So, but because it can be kind of repetitive and tiresome, it's not that great, but it's great nonetheless. Man, I wish there was like a B+ tier or something, so yeah. Anyway, it's on the B as well, almost an A. Moving on to the Hyper Dimension Neptunia games, and yeah, you know how I feel about this series. They're all kind of mediocre and bad. I don't like these games at all. I really tried, guys, getting into them because I do like some compiled hard RPGs out there. But these games is just, I just can't get into them. So all of them, these are like ports of the PlayStation 3 versions, which are better. The PlayStation 3 versions are kind of bad from what I heard, and the Vita versions are like the definitive versions to play of these games. So there's 3 games on the D, because to be honest, I don't like them one bit. If you do, that's okay. And then there's Hyper Devotion Noir, and it's its own thing, and it's kind of like a spin-off based on one of the characters. It's just... oh man, I think it's a strategy RPG. It's kind of different, you know, in terms of battle. But it's just... it's a D. Alright guys, so we have a lot of Kemco RPGs on the Vita. Digital only, some of them got a physical release by Limited Run Games. The one that I recommend is called Revenant Saga. I think it's one of the best out of the bunch, but I'm not gonna rank every single one of them because they're all the same. Sure, they have different stories and slightly different battle mechanics, but they all look like 8-bit, 16-bit inspired RPGs, and most of them are kind of generic. You know, there's also this game called Antikya Lost, and As Divine Hearts. As Divine Hearts became like, there's 5 games already. Some of them are on the Vita. Revenant Saga also became its own series, and there's like 3 or 4 already. None of the Kemco RPGs stand out in my opinion, but you know, they're okay. Most of them are C tiers. Revenant Saga might be a B, but since the rest are like okay-ish, they're okay. So I'm gonna rank every single Kemco RPG on the C. That's right. Lost Dimension is almost a masterpiece because we have no S tiers on the list so far. I'm gonna go ahead and give this game an S. It is an excellent game. I love it to pieces, and it's also one of the usual suspects in my channel. Underrated hidden gems, you know, that I covered to death. Love this game, strongly recommend it. Mary Skelter Nightmares, I covered this game recently. You already know it's a dungeon crawler in first person with a lot of personality, some dark stuff here and there, but some heavy fan service and kinky minigames. This is a B. This is a B. Oh, like it's not an A, but it's like a B+. May Q Labyrinth is one of the worst RPGs I've ever played on the Vita. It's complete and utter garbage. Forget about this game. It may have some slightly good, decent, interesting ideas when it comes to battle mechanics, but the visuals are trash. The girls, yeah, sure, they're easy on the eye because they're fan service, but they look kind of deformed. Fuck this game. It's an E. Mind Zero is another game on the Vita that got a lot of undeserved trash. However, it's not that great either. It's a dungeon crawler in first person. Yeah, there's a lot of them on the Vita, okay? Don't be surprised, and we still have a bunch of them to cover. Mind Zero is got a lot of trash because it looks a lot like a Persona game, and to be honest, it does take some character cliches from the Persona series into this one. There's a lot of characters that look and act like the Persona 4 characters. But, you know, what gives? You know, it's still a decent game, but eventually it gets repetitive. The first 2 hours of this game are like, oh man, this is actually great. You know, I'm loving this. But it does get kind of repetitive, kind of grindy, kind of unfair, kind of convoluted, difficulty spikes everywhere. Overall, it ends up being not so great as it felt at the beginning of the game. I still recommend this game. I still think it's a hidden gem, but it just can't be on the B. So I'm gonna give this game a C, Well, let's just say that out of most of the C tiers, out of most of the games on the C tier, this one might be one of the best, along with the Demon Gaze games. Let's leave it at that. It's not that bad. No way. Muramasa the Demon Blade, another excellent 2D action RPG by Vanillaware. This is an enhanced port from the original version that was released on the Wii. Excellent game, no need to cover it. Straight to the A tier. Next up is this very obscure game, roguelike RPG in 2D. Like you move to the right all the time because the screen is trying to swallow you up. It's called Mystery Chronicle One Way Heroics, also on the PS4 and I think it's on PC. And it's good, it's fun for a while, you know, after, you know, a bunch of hours you're gonna be like, eh. It's one of those games you pick up and play, you know, on the go, you know, just to play, I don't know, half an hour and that's it. Maybe one mission and that's it. It's okay, it's fun, it's a C. Alright, so Natural Doctrine is complete and utter garbage. I've trashed this game from the moment I played it several years ago. It was such a huge disappointment because I was really looking forward to it. It doesn't matter if you play it on the PS4, PS3, PS Vita, all versions are equally trash. E. Straight to the E tier. Don't bother with this game. New Little King's Story is yet another enhanced port, just like Muramasa, that was originally released on the Wii, but now on the PS Vita. Comes with the DLCs, new missions, new characters, new whatever, and this game is very different, you know, it's not like anything you ever played, you know, it's a top-down view action RPG with some real-time strategy elements, because you're the king and you gotta take your villagers and your workers and to train them, you know, you gotta make them, to train them in their areas, in their jobs, you know, you gotta take them with you to several different locations and they fight for you and you control them, you know, by giving them orders. It's kind of weird, kind of hard to explain, but it's very fun and very original. It's more like a simulator game where you just gotta build your kingdom back from scratch thanks to all the workers and all the NPCs and all the people and all your assistants, etc. It's a massive game. And it's very charming and very cute. This is great. I recommend this version over the Wii version. It's a great game. I do recommend it, but just keep in mind it's kind of hard to get into. It will take a while, but once you do, it can get kind of addictive. This is a B. Odin Sphere, masterpiece, like the remaster slash remake, masterpiece, ultimate masterpiece, the best JRPG in this video so far. Okay, here we got two more dungeon crawlers in first person. We ain't done yet, no way, man. So, this is Operation Abyss and Operation Babel. Babel is a direct sequel to the other one. You kinda do need to play the first one to understand this one in terms of story, even though it takes place in another part, in another branch, I think, with new characters and all that jazz. Still, most of your characters, if not all of them, are generic, customizable characters. Eventually you start realizing they are like every single dungeon crawler in first person in existence. Some people like these games, I think they're very, very niche, they have this very small cult following fan base. To me, they're kind of generic, kind of okay. You know what, it's just there are better dungeon crawlers on the Vita. I think Mind Zero is better, Demon Gaze is better, so these two are, I'm gonna put them on the D. They aren't bad, but they aren't great either, you know, they're okay. Oreshika, Tainted Bloodlines, is a second game in the series. I think the first one is a Japanese exclusive on the PSP. You don't need to play the first one to understand, this one's completely different. This is one of those games that are also very hard to explain because there's so much to say about them, so much. Basically, you play with a clan, a whole clan, and you gotta make babies. And you okay, not like Conception. And it's kind of weird because it gets really freaking obnoxious because you gotta make babies with the gods. And you gotta train them and you gotta make them warriors, you know, to have your clan, your whole clan survive, you know. And to survive, you play in these 1 year periods or more, and you have a lot of micromanagement involved because you gotta, you know, level up your stores, level up your clan, level up your parts, your locations inside the game, and then you go into to that, you know, to get materials and to get stronger and whatever. You go to the dungeons to fight in turn-based battles, and some of these dungeons you don't need to finish them, you know, you can finish them, but there's no real end to them. They're just there to explore, to serve as exploration points, so you can get stronger and train your characters. So they can be very repetitive. I personally found this game to be great with awesome ideas, great art style, you know, but it just got kind of repetitive for me. I never finished this game, and I don't plan on finishing this game ever, but I do recommend it. I think it's a great game, solid gameplay, solid ideas, just maybe not for me on the long term. Still, I'm gonna give it a B. And you need to know that this game did not get a physical release in North America. I think there's an Asian version with English subtitles physically, but I think it's kind of expensive. Yeah, just thought I'd let you know. Alright, Persona 4 Golden, complete not a trash, belongs in the E tier, worse than Make You Labyrinth and Natural Doctrine. I'm just kidding, it's an excellent game, I'm gonna give this game an A. Yeah. Alright, so there's Ragnarok Odyssey, and there's two versions of it, Ragnarok Odyssey and Ragnarok Odyssey Ace. Ace is like an updated version, but they're both on the Vita and the PS3, same game. The Ace version is the one to go for. Action RPGs, quest-driven, a little bit in the God Eater / Monster Hunter vein, because the whole point of the game is to get to these, traverse these dungeons or areas, beat the crap out of their enemies, and reach a boss. And the boss fights are epic here, and this game has excellent controls, excellent combat, strongly recommended because of that. However, you know, it's a quest-driven RPG, not a lot of focus on the story, not a lot of focus on character development, and it can get kind of repetitive. So the God Eater games are better in my opinion, but this, because it has an amazing combat and graphics, I'm gonna give it a B. Great game nonetheless. Ray Gigant is a very unique dungeon crawler in first person. However, this game has a lot of personality because it does have a lot of focus on the story and characters, which also means you'll be reading a hell of a lot. But the battle system is all that matters here because it's kind of unique. It's turn-based, as you can see right now, but you don't just randomly choose the actions of your allies to attack the boss. It kind of plays a little bit with the abilities and like an invisible AP bar. It's kind of hard to explain, but you need to be very strategic to control the characters and to have them attack and to have them wait or to have them defend. And there are some parts of the battle where you enter this kind of rhythm game where you need to click the buttons at the right time, you know, to make your attack even more powerful. So like I said, it's a very intuitive, very original and fun battle system. It does stand out among most of the dungeon crawlers on the Vita. You know what, it's great, but I would rather play Arno Surge or Ragnarok Odyssey or God Wars than it, but it's still a great game. It's still a great game. I'm gonna give this one a B. And for the record, it's also on PC, I believe. Romancing Saga 1, 2, and 3. I'm only going to cover 2 and 3 because the first one was never released on the Vita, and it was remade on the PlayStation 2 a long time ago and it stayed there. I don't know why they decided to remaster only Romancing Saga 2 and 3. They look great, they look amazing, no remix, just remasters, you know, great. Great games, you know, I recommend them, but they're Saga games, you need to read a guide to know what to do and where to go. At times you get lost pretty easily. I do recommend playing these games with a walkthrough. I'm not sure which one is better. I think, in terms of story and characters, I think I like the third one a little bit more. But they're both the same games, you know. They're great, digital only. I think they have physical releases by Limited Run Games. I'm not too sure, but anyway. They're everywhere, by the way. PS4, Xbox One, PC, I think everywhere. So anyway, B tiers for me, yeah. Great games, both of them. Great remasters. Secret of Mana, it's also on the Vita. A lot of people didn't notice that. They thought because it only got a physical release on the PS4 that the remake was exclusive to PS4. No, it's also on the Vita. You got a digital release over there. And I don't know why this game gets a lot of hate. You know, to me it's a great game. It's still Secret of Mana, it's still great. Yeah, I'm gonna give this game a B. Shiren the Wanderer, it's a roguelike RPG, and every Shiren the Wanderer game plays almost exactly the same, but this is one of the best. Along with the Wii one, they're different games, not the same game. This is its own game, and it continues the adventures of Shiren the Wanderer, kind of like the Ys games, you know. It's the same character, same protagonist going to different places and adventures and blah blah blah. But they're roguelike RPGs, and you do have party members, you know, and you can control them in battle, which is fun. Because usually in roguelike RPGs, you can only play as your main character, and that's about it. So like I said, this is actually recommended. I'm not really into roguelike RPGs, but Shiren the Wanderer is a series that I do like. I love the one on the Wii, and I love this one on the Vita. Another B. Great games. Contrary to Sorcery Saga, which is also a roguelike RPG, which is very, very cheesy, very dumb. It tries so hard to be funny, and it just fails, you know. It's an okay game. It's very repetitive, and since the story is just not that fun, I don't know, it's a D. I think it's a D because while it did have some fun ideas, none of them stand out. It's just a very generic, overly cute, over-the-top cute RPG, and it just didn't work for me. I don't recommend this game, but that's just my opinion. Soul Sacrifice, one of the best exclusive JRPGs on the Vita. There's two versions, just like Ragnarok Odyssey. It got the regular vanilla version and the updated version called Delta. Obviously the Delta version is the one to go. Excellent game, this is an A, solid A. Stranger of Source City is another dungeon crawler in first person. I just covered this game recently. It's a game that has multiple art styles, different characters drawn by different artists, which is the highlight of the game, but everything else, it's okay. You know, it's a little bit generic, but it does get better the more you progress. It's kind of convoluted at first. I didn't know where to go, what was I supposed to do, and I had to read a walkthrough in order to understand that. The story is pretty interesting, pretty dark, and it does have some... Well, the fact that you can have 6 active party members during battle, that gives it a boost. The more the merrier when it comes to turn-based or strategy RPGs for me, so I really enjoyed that. Stranger of Source City, great game. Above, it's one of the best dungeon crawlers on the Vita, but I'm still gonna give this game a C because it's not for me. I'm not into those games. Maybe you are, so I recommend that to you. Summon Night 6 is a crossover from all the Summon Night games, you know, characters from all the Summon Night games join this little grid-based strategy RPG. It's pretty fun, it's very easy for the most part. If you play this game on normal, it's gonna be a walk in the park until very late in the game it starts getting a little bit challenging, but I don't care about that if you're looking for, you know, really hard strategy RPGs. This is not the game for you. It's charming, it may be a good idea to start with this game if you're looking to get into strategy RPGs. It's also on the PS4, plays great on the Vita, don't worry. This is a great game, I really enjoyed it, despite its criticism, so I'm gonna give this game a B. And the last Neptunia game on the Vita, there's 2 more I think, but they're like hack and slash, and another one is a rhythm game, I don't know, and I don't care. These games, you already know how I feel about them. This is Super Dimension, Neptunia versus Sega Hard Girls, and it's a D. Yeah. Alright, the Sword Art Online games. Like I mentioned when I covered Axel World at the very beginning of this video, the Vita, it just wasn't a very good home for these games. They don't look very well, they looked kinda bad, they looked outdated, they looked like PSP games for Christ's sake, and all of them have strong frame drop issues. You know, the frame rate in this game is just kinda bad, and the first game, the first Sword Art Online game, has a very convoluted battle system. It's just really hard to get into, hard to understand. Why couldn't it be a simple hack and slash with a few twists here and there, like Axel World versus Sword Art Online, for example, a much better game in my opinion. I'm pretty sure they play better on the PlayStation 4, so go for those versions instead and forget about the Vita versions. That's my recommendation. And in terms of story, oh my god, it's just worse because they're harems and they aren't fun. They aren't funny, they aren't, the characters, you know, they're hard to like for me personally. And yes, I'm a dot hack purist, and these games to me are dot hack ripoffs. That's just my opinion though. If you're a fan of Sword Art Online, play them, but play them on the PS4, not on the Vita. So all of them are going straight to the D, unfortunately. Yeah, there's 3 of them, you know, the entire trilogy is here. And the worst thing of it all is that you definitely need to play the first game, which is a Japanese exclusive on the PSP, to understand them. And maybe you can watch the anime and understand what the hell is going on right there. Yeah, not recommended these games on the Vita. Tales of Hearts R. This is a full remake of the original Tales of Hearts game that came out on the Nintendo DS only in Japan several years ago. And the DS version is kind of not so great. But this one is great. It's phenomenal, fantastic remake. I've recommended this game several times on this channel. Play it, totally recommend it. Hope it comes to the PS4 one day. But anyway, this is an A. Alright, we're almost there. The Caligula effect, complete and utter garbage. I don't know about the remaster on PS4 and Switch. It's probably better, it's gotta be better. This game is horrible. I hated the story, hated the characters, hated the music, and hated its convoluted, horrible turn-based battle system. This is trash, straight to the E. The longest 5 minutes feels like an indie RPG, but it's one of those companies that just decided to do a retro-looking 8-bit style of graphics RPG, turn-based RPG, and it's pretty fun. But it's okay, you know. At the beginning, you know, during the first hour of the game, you'll be like, eh, this is pretty fun, it's pretty original, you know, it's kind of different from your average turn-based RPG. But eventually, it just goes into the saving the world cliche, you know, it's okay. It feels kind of low, very low budget, kind of like an indie game. So it's alright. I do recommend this game just for the fun of it. Check it out if you can. Feels like a Chemco RPG, but it's not, so don't worry. But anyway, it's still a Z actually. I'm gonna give this game a C because it's just okay and that's it. Same with The Lost Child, completely different game. Another dungeon crawler in first person. I've actually recommended this game before because the story and the atmosphere of the game is mature. It's not kids saving the world or teenagers. No, this is an investigator, you know. No, the guy's a journalist. Yeah, the guy's a journalist and he's investigating these paranormal events. And this guy... He is accompanied by this overly sexualized female character, you know, which is kind of dumb but silly, you know, she's okay. You can fight also with this guy from El Shaddai, because they are the same developers, you know, El Shaddai on the 360 and PS3, a hack and slash game, great game by the way. But it's kind of repetitive, it just goes overboard with the labyrinths, they are very long and often you get lost, often you don't know what to do. And just like in Stranger of Sword City, you kind of need a guide to know where to go or what to do sometimes. But it has a lot of personality, it's mature, it stands out, but it's still on the sea. It's an okay game. I do recommend this game. Dungeon crawlers in first person lovers, you gotta play this game, man. But me, I'm not a lover, so another C. Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters is one of the most unique RPGs ever made. Some people even say it's not an RPG. They might be right because it's a visual novel and the battle system is kind of strategic, but you do level up, your characters level up, they gain experience, they get development, there's a lot of choices here to be made and a lot of decision making. Every 5 seconds there's a decision to be made here, which keeps the game and the visual novel elements way less tedious than in other games. Basically you're a ghost hunter and you get sent to these missions where, you know, you get this radio, this device that knows where the paranormal energy is coming from, so you get sent there and you gotta fight in these battles, you know, this board, you're looking at it right now, it just looks weird and convoluted, but eventually you do realize which ones are your characters and which ones are the enemies, and when you make contact you get into these first-person turn-based battles, which are very interesting. Still, I think this game is just very niche, very hard to understand, and I'm not sure if I can properly recommend it. It's good, don't take me wrong, but it's one of those games, it's just very niche. Man, this is a C. I'm gonna give this game a C, because I'm not sure if I like it or not. Let's leave it at that. Tokyo Xanadu, excellent game. The PS4 version is the better one, we know, with all the DLCs and the Plus version, the extra character. This is the vanilla version, but it's still great. Badass battle system, badass controls, a phenomenal battle system, like I said, and music, oh my god. But it's also a very modern J-pop influence kind of game, a lot of idol bullshit in here. I don't like the story in this game. I never finished it. I made it pretty far, but I never finished it because I just couldn't get into the story and characters. But overall, it's still a great game. I'm gonna give this one a B. Toukiden 1 and 2 are also Monster Hunter clones. How many Monster Hunter clones are here, huh? 3, 4 already? Anyway, and these ones are better than Monster Hunter in my opinion. My opinion though, don't worry. Toukiden 1 and 2, excellent games, also on PS4, and they play and look great on the Vita, so you can't go wrong with these versions either. Phenomenal games, they're pretty much clones of Monster Hunter, but they have better story and better character development. The second one is better than the first one, but they're both great games. I'm gonna give them both a B. Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, only the first 2 games. Yes, excellent games, masterpieces together. Separately, I think I will rank the first one on the A tier, but since it's pretty much a game cut into 2 parts, there's no reason to play one and not play the other one. So yeah, it's the same game, masterpiece. Yep, both of them together. And you know what? Even separately, they might just be among the absolute best JRPGs on the PlayStation Vita. That's right. Alright everybody, almost there. Trillion God of Destruction, another very obscure game. It's just very weird. This is... how to describe this game? It's like a roguelike RPG, but at the same time it isn't. You do get sent into... your girls get sent to these roguelike missions to train or to find items. And there's also a lot of mini-games, training, mini-games that last for like 2 or 3 seconds. And the whole point is to train one girl, one of the... I think there's like 6 girls, 5 or 6 girls, and you got train one and send her to fight the big boss, which is Trillion, the god of destruction, and it has a trillion HP. Well, you do make massive damage the more you train your girls. The thing about this game though is that, you know, one girl cannot take down the boss by herself, so she kinda needs to die. That's right, so save your favorite girl for last, because she's the one that needs to beat the crap out of the final boss, Trillion, the only boss in the entire game actually, to beat the game. And it's great, you know, it's great, it's very addictive to play, and you know, I love it. I'm gonna give this game a B. It's a solid game. Okay, moving on to the Uta Wareru Mono games. There's 2 of them on the PlayStation Vita. One is a direct, very direct sequel of the other one. No need to play it without playing the first one first. And these are visual novels. They do have this strategy RPG battle system, and that's what makes them RPGs in my opinion. They probably shouldn't be here because they're 80% visual novel and 20% gameplay. The battles are amazing. The writing is okay, you know, it gets praised a lot because the story, the more you advance, the more interesting it becomes. It does have some bits here and there that make it, you know, stand out above a lot of visual novels. So, but it takes a while to get there, you know, for the most part it's just humor, it's just fan service, it's just lolis, they're okay. I like these games, I love the battle system in them, but they aren't that great in my opinion. I'm gonna give both of them a C. Uta Wareru Mono 1 and 2, Mask of Truth and Mask of Deception. I think Deception is the first one. Valhalla Knights 3 is the third and final game in the Valhalla Knights series. I'm not sure if the series is ever going to come back. I don't think so, because most of the other games failed miserably in sales and failed miserably in reviews. There are pretty bad games in my opinion, but this one on the Vita, exclusive to the Vita by the way, it's decent, it's good. It's an action RPG, and it takes place in this prison city where your customizable character goes undercover, you know, to find this legendary treasure. But other characters are also looking for this legendary treasure, so you might have to fight them, or you might have to team up with them, and that's a fun thing. And there's also this this fan service area, this like brothel where you go with your character, and you know, it's kind of fun. Sometimes you can recruit some of these girls to join your party, and sometimes you just have fun with them. Have fun, okay? Let's leave it at that. But anyway, this is a solid game. This is a great game. It's fun. It's brutally hard, very grindy, but it's worth it. It's the only Valhalla Knights game that I do recommend. This is a B. Moving on to Valkyria Revolution. Yes, you didn't know it's on the Vita? It is on the Vita. Digital only, but it's on the Vita. English official localization on the Vita. It plays great on the Vita. Obviously, you'd be better playing the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One version, but the Vita, you can't go wrong. I love this game. It gets a lot of undeserved trash for no reason, but because the battle system is not that great, it's a hack and slash. It just isn't Valkyria Chronicles, and that was his biggest mistake. But other than that, it's a great action RPG and the best story out of all the Valkyria games in my opinion. Strongly recommend this game. This is an A. Anyway, moving on to World of Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy's take on Pokemon. This is when Final Fantasy started ripping off other franchises. You know, nowadays they're finally gonna rip off Souls, and they ripped off Pokemon, and they're like, you know, there's gotta be a Final Fantasy game of everything, and this is just, it just didn't work for me. It's a good game, it's still a decent game, and the battle system was interesting, so I can't be too harsh with it. I just didn't like the idea at all, but it's still a C. I'm gonna give it a C. And finally, the East games. All of them should be on the A or S tier, because there's barely any S tiers here. Damn it, you know, I'm gonna give all of them, all 3 of them, an S. Do they play good on the Vita? Yes, they do. They do. Oh, they do. They look amazing on the Vita. And that is my ranking, my massive tier list of every single JRPG released on the PlayStation Vita, guys. Look at this. Look at this. So many Bs and so many Cs, but that's the usual because I'm very picky. I do take the A and the S tiers very seriously, as you may have noticed. So yeah, the Vita, amazing system, such an underrated console, so many great games, so many good games to pick from. Oh my god, yeah. Definitely an underrated system and probably my favorite portable system of all time. That's it guys, thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this massive video, massive tier list with your friends. See you next time!